All praise to the true and living power, Israel, for indeed the Most Ayah is worthy to be praised forever. Listen, I'm making this video. I'm going to try and keep this short and to the point, okay? But it's to help to enlighten you all, to help give you some knowledge and to give you some understanding, okay? The word of the true living God says, in all thy getting, to get understanding, because understanding is a wellspring of life, all right? What I want to help you to understand is this. First and foremost, whatever you believe about the Emancipation Proclamation, that it, they try and couple that and pair that with the celebration of Juneteenth, okay, it's a lie, all right? They did not free our ancestors through the Emancipation Proclamation. What you guys are not paying attention to is the mere fact that Abraham Lincoln, when he signed off on it, was actually, that was them putting them in slavery, not them coming out of it. You have to understand that when the Pilgrims or Puritans came over to North America, what they did was they brought westernized Christianity to our ancestors, and they actually colonized them with that in their own land, wherever they took it to, wherever our people were. But the highest concentration of who they were really looking for was like Judah. Okay? And they took it to those parts predominantly to colonize those people with it. They knew who they were looking for. Understand that? Because why would they go through the task of trying to get on a boat or ships to come over to North America to even colonize them with it? You had to know that our ancestors could not read and write. Because why would they enter into some type of an agreement with them to be colonized by them in their own land? It don't even make sense, do it? But that's what happened. You got to understand, that's what happened. So no, they did not free them with the Emancipation Proclamation. Was Abraham Lincoln, was he Moses? Because if you go and read the Bible, if you go and read how the true living God, before he even sent Moses, when he talked to Moses, and if you go and read Exodus, the 3rd chapter, Moses asked the true living God, who should I say sent me to them? He said, tell them I am that I am have sent me unto you. Understand that. I mean, that's Exodus 3:15. He said, and that will be his name forever. I am that I am. It's the true living God's name that he told Moses to use to tell the children of Israel what he was using to deliver them out of the hands of the Egyptians. And that would be his name forever. Okay? And those of you that will get that, you understand. Those of you that study to show yourselves approved. All right? Now, what I want to highlight to help you understand some things is this. There was a director, Ava DuVernay, did a documentary back in 2016, and it's called The 13th Amendment. I'm just going to read you what it says on Google about it. It says, Ava DuVernay directed 13th Amendment, a documentary it actually showed a black man that was, let me read what it says, I apologize. It says that explores the history of racial inequality and mass incarceration in the United States, particularly focusing on the loophole in the 13th Amendment that allows for the continuation of slavery through the penal system. That's what it says. These are some of the notes that I wrote. It said it heralded an actual black man with a black and white stripes on, and he had shackled around his ankle, okay, which is enslavement, okay. Now, this is a documentary that she did in 2016, and I put in here in the notes also that it said that and the black and white stripe things, because you can see how they mix black and white together. You know what I'm saying? That's saying something too. It was actually like the colors of black and white mixing of the races together to enslave another. So even though they mix a lot of things together, but who has been the one that was enslaved? Who are the ones that have been legislating laws? Who have been the ones that have been like the lawyers and the people over the prison industrial complex? Many of you are not even aware that when a person goes into prison, that's like, the enslavement of it, but I look at the word cistern here. The word cistern in the Strong's is 953, and it means bore. Or, because, and it says, it references 952 and 877. It says pit, cistern, dungeon, well, dungeon with 1004, fountain, bore. It says a pit hole, especially one used as a cistern or a prison. And then it references Deuteronomy 6:11. Cisterns without water were used for prisons. And then it says sepulcher, those who go down to the sepulcher, i.e. the dead. And we know the story about Joseph. Joseph's brethren who were jealous of him because Joseph was the one that could interpret dreams, and his brothers could not. And then there's also a prophecy in there about Joseph over in Genesis 49, where it talks about, let me read that a little bit. Genesis 49. There's people warring against me right now in this library, but I'm going to keep on going, okay? You just have to just keep on going anyway, in spite of what folks try to stop you from doing. This is the true will of God is in total control, honey, not man. Men are just men, okay? It says, talks about Jacob's blessings on his sons. And it says, the one that talks about Joseph, Genesis 29, starting at verse 22, says, Joseph is a fruitful bow, even a fruitful bow by a well whose branches run over the wall. The archers have sorely grieved him and shot at him and hated him, but his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty true living God of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel, even by the true living God, the most Ayah, thy Father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under, blessings of the breast and of the womb. The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren. That's what it says about Joseph. That's a prophecy that talks about Joseph. But we know that his brethren actually put him in, he wore that coat of many colors, and his brethren that hated him because he could interpret dreams. Okay? And they said that a wild beast had attacked him and it had killed him. That's what they told Jacob that had happened to Joseph. And we know how the story goes, how he went into Egypt and how the true living God allowed Joseph to build those storehouses that were in Egypt, right? I say all that to say that by the time the new Pharaoh came on the scene, who did not know Joseph, it said that he said that they're being mightier. They're mightier than us. I'm paraphrasing, he said, come and let us deal wisely with them, lest they join with our enemies and get them up out the land. Now, you see this prophecy that is talking about this, about Joseph? The true living God is serious about what his word says, and his words are not going to return unto him void, and he's not going to allow his words to fall to the ground. So I'm saying all that to say that you're not free like you think you're free. You keep going up into those religious hellholes, those pits, those cisterns without water, and you're thinking that they are educating you about how to worship a true living God, but you're being enslaved by it. You have to remember that when they came over to North America, they brought that with them, and they actually colonized our ancestors with what they brought to them. Because our ancestors were not connected to the true living God when they brought that with them, and they knew that when they came. You got to wake up. You got to wake up. Okay? This message is even deeper than even what I'm saying to you, but I'm just kind of giving you the short version of it. Feel free to go and do your own independent studies on that. I highly encourage you to do so. But I love you enough to tell you the truth, and until next time, be